Hey y'all, that was a quick opening today. We have a lot going on with our podcast today. We do not have Driz here, unfortunately. We have a lot of stories. Did you guys know that last week the Steelers lost their first game to the Washington football team? They used to be the Redskins. Now, again, a couple of these stories I made before obviously this Bears game where they just won 36-7. They won by almost 20 points, and I guess you could say that a couple of these stories were in favor of getting rid of Matt Nagy, Trubisky, getting rid of everyone. But I'll sort of explain things like that, and then I'll sort of just say, like, instead of right now, get rid of Matt Nagy, these guys should replace him right now, it will be like, alright, maybe if Nagy does bad for the rest of the season, we could get him to replace this. Anyways, the preseason started on Friday for the NBA. My thoughts on that coming up. We have what is the root of a gaming setup, or just like a setup in general, just like any kind of setup. Why does Adam Gase still have a job? That is a serious question, and I will talk about that because I mean the Jets are 0-12, so that's crazy. Then another story about the Bears, why the Bears think they could not Andy Reid. That's a true story. Again, it's sort of on the negative perspective of the Bears, but it's a true story. So I mean, you could watch this at the end of the season, and they could be 6-10, and you could be like, no wonder the Bears suck. I don't know. Anyways, what is going on with James Harden? Yeah, I watched the preseason opener last weekend, and I didn't see anything from James Harden. He didn't play. I mean, people were saying that, like, oh, I think he's going to get traded or something like that. I don't know. And then, again, for the team that went 14-2 last year, the season is really sad for them. Why is the season sad for the Ravens? Stick around and find out. Also, my channel is going to have a lot of changes in the coming weeks. The weather getting even worse, and the NFL season's coming closer to an end. I will talk about a lot of the changes that you will see being made following next week going into 2021. We might change back, we might not. We're going to test it out next week, see if it works. If it does, we'll keep it for the long haul. And then, as always, score prediction and review. All right, let's get into the first story about the Steelers. Let me just switch this. The Steelers are now 11-1. They won every game, and then I saw this thing when I was looking at stuff. I saw this thing that said the Steelers beat all the list of teams like missing players, practice squad, Ravens, and the Steelers sort of cheated their way to 11-1. I don't know. Did the Steelers cheat their way into 11-1? Maybe. If I make this clip a video, comments down below what you think happened with the Steelers to get them to 11-1. Did they just have a terrible performance against the Washington football team, or was the 11-0 stunt just part of their luck? I do not know. Is this Mike Tomlin's fault? Whose fault is this? But anyways, I thought that if they were going to lose to a team this year, they'd lose to a much better team than the Washington football team. I know this story is sort of about the Steelers, but shout out to the Washington football team, though, because their defense went off that game. So, just want a quick little brief review about the Steelers really quickly. I'm going to try and cut down the commercial breaks today. Not commercial breaks, but like little breaks today. I'm going to try to make it like a lot less, like maybe one or two throughout the entire show. And I will try to make this show. I don't know whether I should make it shorter or longer. I don't know. That's something I'll decide in my own time. But I'm going through these 10 stories. This was our first story. We got 9 more things. Who I want is the Bears head coach as of now. Huh. Oh, yeah. All right, there we go. I forgot I put animations on that. Anyways, all right. Wait for the little side thing to go away, and is all right. So this is my top 2 list of who I want as the Bears head coach as of now. If Nagy screws this whole thing up and the Bears are sort of in a situation where they're like, maybe let's keep a lot of the players but get a new office, like get a new head coach. These 2 guys right now are the 2 guys on my list that I would really like being the coach. And there's some things that I wouldn't like about them. I'll just go over why. So number 1, I have Eric Bieniemy. Right now he's the Chiefs offensive coordinator behind Andy Reid. For those of you who don't know, the Chiefs really good this year, reigning Super Bowl champions, and Eric Bieniemy was the head coach of it all. Or I mean the offensive coordinator of it all with Andy Reid as the head coach. I don't know why I said that. I'm sorry. Well, anyways, the question is, Matt Nagy was with Andy Reid for years, and the Bears got Matt Nagy. So if we screw the pooch for Nagy and get rid of him, would going down an Andy Reid lane make things even worse? I mean, would if we hired or if the Bears hired Eric Bieniemy, would that sort of still be like if we still had Nagy? I'm sorry, I got that pop up again. All right, the number 2 one is probably. I think it's much more likely for the number 2 one. Anyways, Pat Fitzgerald right now is the head coach of Northwestern. For those of you who don't know, like 10 years ago, the head coach of Northwestern died. So then Pat Fitzgerald stepped in. And he was the guy who made Northwestern relevant in football. Like, before 10 years ago, Northwestern was nothing, not popular. They were maybe fine in football every now and then, but Pat Fitzgerald has done wonders for them. And for those of you who don't know, really, Northwestern. So I live in Illinois. I've visited both of those places. I've been right in the museums around where Soldier Field is, and then I've driven around by where Northwestern is. Soldier Field and Northwestern, they're not that far from each other. And I mean, Pat Fitzgerald is an Illinois native from college, at least. He went to Northwestern. So I'm saying that Pat Fitzgerald, he doesn't have to move anywhere crazy. He could even stay in the house he's in and be fine. Maybe just like a 30-minute drive to Hollis Hall, which is in Lake Forest, which is like around 30 minutes away, and then 30-minute drive to the city to go to Soldier Field, which is like maybe 30 minutes. So that's a really good thing if the Bears worry about having a new quality head coach. It doesn't have to make any moving arrangements. Like, I don't know much about Pat Fitzgerald as a person, but like if he has kids or something, he doesn't have to pull them out of school, bring them to a new school. They could just stay where they're at, which might be very good. Whereas if, say, Pat Fitzgerald ends up going to the Patriots when Bill Belichick retires or something random like that, then he'll have to move like across the entire country, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Anyways, that's sort of my who I want as the Bears head coach as of now. If Nagy leaves, I will record this clip, but I will not post it this week. I was going to do it. This would have worked last week if I did like a stream on Monday once the Bears blew the 10-point lead to the Lions, but the Bears played so well today that I think I'm going to have to hold off on this for a little bit. This doesn't go into as much effect as of now, so we'll wait a little bit for that. All right, next story. My reaction to the NBA preseason start. All right. For those of you who don't know, on Friday, the NBA preseason started with a couple of games. The Bulls, my favorite NBA team because I'm from Chicago mainly, the Bulls played the Rockets, and James Harden wasn't there. But we're going to save the talk about James Harden for like maybe 10-15 minutes because the Bulls lost big time. Now, here's the thing. Is John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins again, the new dynamic duo? Is it the new LeBron and AD? I don't know. The Bulls lost by 20 points. That is not good. At least it was a preseason game. Looks around the NBA. From what I've heard in interviews and things, the players did not really like the bubble that much. And the bubble was very expensive. I think the players enjoy a lot more being able to stay at their normal houses, not having to just go somewhere locked up in a resort for months. Although from being at home from like a while straight, it does sound nice to be locked up in a resort, but you just can't really do anything there. Just saying. Anyways, yeah. So that's the big thing. Now, is it really COVID safe having the NBA, having everyone fly everywhere? In my opinion, if people are like following the teams around, making sure they don't do anything stupid, like having specific guidelines set and everything follows them, it should be safe. Like I'm saying, say we'll use someone who spread COVID in the NBA in March. Say the um wait, I don't remember what team Rudy Gobert's on actually. I do, but just say Rudy Gobert and the Jazz go to let's say the Jazz are going bless me. Say the Jazz are going to Toronto to play the Raptors, which actually I don't think will happen. Let's rephrase that. Say they're going to Sacramento to play the Kings, right? Rudy Gobert decides to be stupid, go out, go do things that are not COVID safe. That's my point, is that the NBA should have like specific guidelines saying, all right, you get out of the season and you have to pay a fine if you don't do these things in traveling games. Because this thing is like one Rudy Gobert could spread COVID to the entire NBA. Again, we're only using Rudy Gobert as an example because he was the guy who spread it around the entire first time. So, yeah. Anyways, next story. What is the root of a setup? Right now, my setup here is pretty nice. It's sort of a video game, podcast setup, whatever. I'd honestly say, first things first, the root of a setup has to be the computer. Like, any computer, whatever style you use for anything, honestly has to be good. Say you're just recording music or something. A computer's really good for that. Say you're doing video games, computer's good for that. Although if you're doing more console games, it's more about the console. But for this point, let's just pretend like computers and consoles are sort of the same thing. Because consoles aren't that different from PCs. They're just made for mainly gaming. And even on the Xbox, you could download apps. Like, you could download TV apps on there. You could download Disney Plus on your Xbox. If you have a Disney Plus account, log into there. Watch Disney Plus through your Xbox. So really, at this point, the Xbox takes a role of just a normal computer or TV or whatever. But anyways, that's my point. This was just a little quick story. Also, I'll give you a sneak preview into later, but for the recorded things, so we're going to start trying to do some recorded things already. For recorded things, so in live shows, you might see me take breaks because I'm trying to think of what to say. I plan these stories out, but I don't have like everything I want to say planned. If we do like a recorded show, I'll just probably write down some little notes I think of, and I can record it as many times as possible, and it'll be like 10 stories that each take up 5 minutes, and it will be like a 50-minute show, or maybe even longer. Whereas the past couple of weeks, I've been making it more around 45 minutes or so like that. Anyways, we're going to go to a quick break. We are 15 minutes in. We will be right back with more Master and Talks. never get that song away from my channel for those of you who've watched since I was a gamer. And I did gaming videos. That was my theme song. Anyways, we are now up to, why does Adam Gase have a job? So let's go to the Adam Gase slide. And guess what? That's not a meme. That's real. Why does Adam Gase have a job? And I put specifically below him that the Jets are 0-12. Why does he have a job? Because the Jets are this bad. Now, I have a couple trains of thought. When I first saw this, and I first thought this through, my first original thought was, well, yeah, the Jets are 0-12 now. Does that mean that they're just going to try and use Adam Gase to get to an 0-16 mark and be able to get the number 1 overall pick, and they're just spending a lot of time trying to decide, put some quality work into who they want to get as a new head coach, but they're specifically just keeping Adam Gase just to keep it? I don't know. I mean, I don't remember if it was today or earlier this week, but Jamal Adams said, yeah, because he left the Jets, but he said he actually liked Adam Gase. He doesn't hate Adam Gase. Adam Gase was not the problem. So, I don't know about you, but I sort of feel like Adam Gase is the problem. I don't know. It's so confusing. Are they just waiting to hold him to the end of the season so they could just spend more time thinking about who they're going to logistically get and how, I mean, Jets fans think right now that either one thing, that they're not the worst, they're just going to get they're going to get a number 1 draft pick and be the best, or that they're the best right now, and every team they played so far paid the refs like $500,000. If I get copyrighted for that, you guys know that that's the truth. Alright, I'm kidding with you. We're around halfway done with the show. This was a quick little story on why Adam Gase, why does he have a job? That was my thought. Yeah, we're around 20 minutes in. Let's go to the next story. And I'm going to show you, nope. I'm going to show you guys how the Bears have sort of copied the Chiefs. Take a look at this. Watch. So these are the top 5 players on the offenses of both of those teams paid this year. For the Bears, it's Allen Robinson is the most paid player this year on the team. Then Charles Leno, then Mitchell Trubisky, then Nick Foles, then Jimmy Graham, right? Then for the Chiefs, it's Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and Austin Reitler. Right here we could see a couple of similarities. QBs are both paid this year in the top 5. Tight ends paid in the top 5. Receivers paid in the top 5. And 1 offensive lineman paid in the top 5. Now, this is this year, so it doesn't fit what I'm trying to say as much, but I'm just saying, look at the sort of similarities. I think Sammy Watkins' contract is up at the end of this year, but I'm just saying to you guys, do we notice any similarities here? Allen Robinson and Tyreek Hill are both number 1, and they are both really good receivers. Now, that's the part the Bears got right. Paying your receiver that's really good the most. Now, hopefully they could keep that right and re-sign him because he went off today, but we'll see. Then number 2, we have a little bit of an issue here compared to there. Now, I understand Sammy Watkins is probably much better than, besides Allen Robinson and maybe Darnell Mooney, he's much better than any other receiver on the team. Which is why the Bears could not sign another receiver. It's their second highest paid offensive player. Which hopefully that might change and we could get a really good receiver in free agency or something to go along with Allen Robinson. Otherwise, we sign a good receiver anyways and make that guy the highest paid offensive player on the team. I don't know. But we have Charles Leno is the second highest paid guy on the team. This left tackle who last week let Trubisky get strip sacked and the Lions win the game. 7th round pick. Yeah, he made a Pro Bowl or two, but that's because really, with offensive linemen, and I'm not just saying this, if you are an offensive lineman in the NFL and you're listening to this, you might agree. It's hard when you're watching on TV and you see, it's hard to tell who the offensive linemen getting the blocks that impact the most are. In fact, it's physically impossible to tell unless you come from an alternate dimension where you've watched this game before if those blacks hadn't been happened, right? So I mean, I'm not saying that Charles Leno didn't deserve the Pro Bowls, but I'm saying Charles Leno could have been doing blacks pretty decently, and Cody Whitehair or someone else, one of the random offensive linemen who was guarding someone random that didn't make the Pro Bowl and doesn't have that big of a name, got the more important block that mattered the most. You know what I'm saying about that? Anyways, aside from that, Travis Kelce is the third highest paid player on the Chiefs. The Chiefs' top three are three ridiculously good offensive players, so I could see why. Now, our third highest paid player this year is Mitchell Trubisky, which, I mean, not going to lie, Mitchell Trubisky, I don't know. I'd rather have Mitchell Trubisky as a backup QB than Nick Foles. Just look at the consistency from those two. Mitchell Trubisky, he's been so consistent when he has the ball, whereas Nick Foles isn't at all. Now, I'm not saying Mitchell Trubisky's good, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, well, for today, I'm saying he was crazy today. But I'm just saying, in general, he's not the best QB. And, yeah, but I'm just saying, Mitchell Trubisky, he's more of a scrambler. He has a lot better of a flow. Like, he could run in there. He could run around. He's more of a player that just breezes through. And he might be a little inconsistent, but no offense to Nick Foles. I'm sorry, but I'd much rather have Mitchell Trubisky than Nick Foles as the starting quarterback. Which brings me to my next point. You could see who the fourth highest paid player on the offense this year is, and it's Nick Foles. That's ridiculous. Two quarterbacks in your top five highest paid offensive players? Really? Both of those guys aren't even good. They're both backup QBs. And they're both your two highest paid players. Or two of your five highest paid players. You know one of them can't start. One of them is not going to be starting. Yeah, you found a way to integrate both of them in about half and half this season, but next year you cannot start two quarterbacks. You could switch someone's position to tight end and do like a Taysom Hill thing, but you can't start two quarterbacks at the quarterback position. There's only one football. There can't be two quarterbacks. So I'm saying you're going to have to find something to do here, whether you want to draft a guy, sign a long-term guy, but having two quarterbacks in your, like, even if Nick Foles was 4 and like some other random guy was 3, or Mitchell Trubisky was 3 and some other random guy was 4, I wouldn't be that upset. But having two quarterbacks in your top 4 highest paid players is not right. This year, and I'm stressing this again, this year alone, Patrick Mahomes is the 4th highest paid player on the Chiefs. Yes, he did get that super hyper extension, $500 million for 10 years, but that doesn't mean he gets paid $500 million this year. What I'm saying is, look at this. Yes, Patrick Mahomes this year, he makes less than Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, but those guys more have less on their contract left. They don't have a decade still left on their contract. I'm just saying, you know, you could see similarities. Both of the quarterbacks are 4th highest paid. Anyways, yeah. Now ESPN just released an article saying Trubisky had himself a day. See, if you guys didn't believe me and thought that I was lying that the Bears beat the Texans 36-7, well, just look at ESPN, all right? And anyways, For number 5 on both of us, Austin Reitler, center. That might not be the best by the Chiefs, but at least he's guarding Mahomes. And Jimmy Graham at 5. The issue, well, no. If Jimmy Graham was signed to multiple years, if this was like for the long haul, the highest paid offensive players, I'd be like, you guys drafted a tight end with the 43rd overall pick, and this guy's making more. I don't have anything against Jimmy Graham. I'm just saying the Bears are genuinely not that kind of two tight end offense. It's like one tight end might mentor the other, but you're not really going to start two tight ends and have. I mean, the only scenario is if you have both of them do blocking, or maybe one blocking, one running. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the Bears are the two tight end team. Anyways, this was a longer story, but it was a good one. We were talking about why the Bears tried to copy the Chiefs. We have a couple more stories coming up. We are not going to a break. If you thought we were, psych, we're not. We are going into our next story right now. What is going on with James Harden? Now, yes, I try to be as loving for every team on this channel as anybody. But let me just say this for a fact. I don't really like the Houston Rockets. I didn't with Russell Westbrook. I didn't especially with what they did to the Bulls. But I was wondering the entire game, what happened to James Harden? Where was he? Apparently he was injured, but I don't know. There was a lot of news throughout the week saying that he was going to try to get traded. So that's an opinion that I don't know. And we'll see that in the future, because there's only the future, and the future is the thing that tells. But why is James Harden not playing? Now, again, it could possibly be he just didn't play for one game, and he's going to play tonight, and he's going to play the rest of the games of the season. And the thing is, though, if he doesn't, he doesn't. I don't really know. This is another place filler story. Yeah. Alright. Now I'm going to talk about the sad story of, or the sad season of the Ravens. 2 times I've done sad stories of players. I've done Josh Rosen and RG3. But now I'm going to go through the sad story for a team this year. So, the Baltimore Ravens last year had one of the best teams ever. They went 14-2 in the regular season. They marched into the playoffs and they lost in the divisional round, unfortunately for them. And yeah, right now they are not right. Wait, no. All right, I'm gonna have to look this up. Right now they are sitting at 3rd in the AF in their division in the AFC North, 7-5. Now you might be like, well, that's not that bad. But I mean, well, the Ravens are not the Ravens. The Bears. The Bears are only like the Bears are only 1 win behind from that. So I'm just saying, the Ravens are not having that good of a season this year at all, really. And to make things worse, the Browns had an easy schedule, and they are 9-3, which means right now the Browns are above the Ravens in the division. And as I said earlier, the Steelers are 11-1. So pretty much most other teams that would be 7-5 now probably would clinch the wild card round. Probably would make the playoffs. But for the Ravens, it's looking unlucky because of the Browns' luckiness and the Steelers' luckiness. The Ravens fall from going 14-2, number 1 team, number 1 record in the NFL, to not even making the playoffs. This all could change, and the Ravens can make the playoffs. There's still 3 weeks left of the regular season, but as of now, they are not. If the season ended today, the Ravens would not make the playoffs. Next story, as we're it like 32 minutes in. Changes with Master N talks. This is a big story today. The changes with Master N talks. So pretty much, we're going to still go live on Sundays, but we will have videos come out during the week as well. So I'm going to be doing some recording videos and not all live stream and then screen record. Which brings us to our second point. There will be some pre-recorded content on this channel as well. Also, during the live show on Sunday, we will also be playing the pre-recorded content. So like where I typically would just play a song during a break, I might find a video and play one of my pre-recorded videos, whether it's uploaded or not, and just play that during the break or something like that. And then after big news in a sport, I'm going to try to make a video about it that day. So like, let's say James Harden gets traded to the Wizards, I'll make a video hopefully that day saying James Harden was traded to the Wizards for blah blah blah, and this is what I think of this, right? Or something like that. And then I will probably do some post-game review videos, like after a game happens. I'll do post-game stuff like that, and yeah, that's pretty much all the updates I have. Time to go into score review. Let's go over what we predicted for this week. We predicted the Bills would beat the Ravens 28-14, or beat the 49ers. The Bills would beat the 49ers 28-14. We ended up winning 34-24. That's another right winner-loss thing under my belt. And then I predicted that the Bulls would beat the Rockets 105-101, and they ended up beating the Rockets by negative points. I don't know. They lost to the Rockets 104-125. So we're 1-1 for that. Right now we are officially 0-1 for NBA games. Although we were 1 point off for the Bulls. So that's good. But anyways, we have 2 games to predict right now. The Browns versus Ravens and the Lakers versus Clippers. I'll title this one Game 2. So we know. Because Game 2 is tonight's game. So now we know. The Browns-Ravens. Ooh, this is a tough one. The Browns have looked pretty good this season, but thing is it just luck? Is it just their schedule? Are the Ravens still good? I mean, the Browns did beat the Ravens last year, which concluding makes me want to say the Browns are going to beat the Ravens 32-24. Also, just saying, all of the score predictions, they are on the spot. So, like, I don't think of this beforehand. I just come up with this while I'm talking. I think of it in my head. NBA, Lakers-Clippers Game 2. I gotta say the Lakers are better than the Clippers. I'm pretty sure the Lakers will win tonight's game. I'm going to say... Now that I see what I got wrong in my first score prediction, I'm going to go Lakers 113 to Clippers 107. I think that sounds about right. Anyways, yeah, that's my score prediction. The last thing of the day, which means we are going to go now to the next week, see what the